The most toys. During a routine transport mission, Data is seemingly killed, but his real fate is much less interesting.
We start out with Picard spouting out the most sci-fi sounding intro log that we've had yet.
In order to neutralize a sudden contamination of the water supply at the Federation colony on Beta Agni 2, we are procuring 108 kilos of hytritium from the Zabalian trader Kivas Fajo.
And an alien woman in shitty makeup tricks Data into touching a device that zaps him into unresponsiveness.
Data's making the last trip, but suddenly...
They contact Kivas Fajo, the alien they were getting the substance from.
But he doesn't seem to know anything. He's very convincing.
Were you able to save the pilot?
No.
I'm sorry.
He's played by Saul Rubinek, who I recognized from the commercials for Warehouse 13. I didn't actually watch the show.
Oh, okay.
The crew was surprised about what happened to Data, but apart from Worf saying Data's name, they don't seem particularly troubled about his seeming death. They're very focused on their mission.
Data wakes up in a weird room, and Fajo walks in and reveals that the room is full of one-of-a-kind artifacts.
He acts annoyingly excited, and I immediately hoped he would die. He says that Data was brought there for his amusement.
So obviously Data doesn't want to be there, so he tries to open the door, but he can't. Okay, so the door is reinforced. I would think he'd try and just bust through a wall or something.
That's what I thought he was going to do. And Fajo himself is protected by a force field, and I did think it was a pretty good stunt when Data got knocked away. One of the artifacts in the room is a living hand puppet.
Made up of all the rejected effects for previous episodes.
Fajo is basically the Marvel villain The Collector, except even less interesting. Since Geordi and Wesley believe Data to be dead, they immediately start snooping through his room as they look for anything that they might want for themselves.
And apparently Data has been working on the matte painting from Times Squared.
Back on Fajo's ship, Data talks to the woman from earlier, whose name is Varia. She implies that her shitty makeup is a result of being punished by Fajo, who is in control of everyone on the ship.
Geordi's talking to Picard and says that he can't believe that Data would make a mistake, but that's the only explanation he can find.
We've already seen all the tech on the ship malfunction numerous times,
including Data himself. Fajo wants Data to wear specific clothes and sit in a chair, and Data refuses.
So he splashes a solvent on his uniform to dissolve it away, but he only splashes it in one part, and he walks away seemingly assuming it's going to dissolve everything.
The one part I did like about this room was when Data was talking to the hand puppet.
And then we cut to Geordi having the lamest nightmare ever.
Enterprise Shuttle Bay 2 prepared for docking. Level 1 precautions remain in effect.
Yeah, I like how they didn't even have him bother changing into a different outfit. They're like, whatever, just get in bed with your shoes on, who cares?
I didn't even notice that. And he realizes from the audio recordings that Data didn't follow procedure 100% to the letter the way he usually did.
Worf has been given Data's spot on the bridge, and Troi is asking him about it because she's concerned. And we get the start of this subplot where Worf is subtly getting rid of people to get promoted. Which Troi points out, but he plays it off like he didn't know about it. I assume you wanted to say something about that guy's f***ed up face.
Fajo invites his friend onto the ship, and it is the dumbest looking alien that we have had so far, by far. It looks like he was designed by a child, and they rejected the design, but they somehow got them mixed up and accidentally used that one. Data refuses to react to Fajo's commands, and Fajo gets frustrated and accidentally knocks him over with his force field, which I also thought was a pretty good stunt.
I agree.
I knew you'd hear me! It falls well.
Fajo is embarrassed, and so was I for watching this episode.
The Enterprise reaches the planet with a contamination. They start to counteract the effects, but it's happening faster than they expected, so they go down to check it out.
Riker suspects that Fajo manipulated the entire situation for some reason, so they have the computer look him up and discover that he is a collector of unique objects, and start to suspect him of kidnapping Data.
To get Data to sit in the chair, Fajo threatens Varia's life.
Using the ultimate nullifier.
He knows that Data would not want harm to come to another being on his behalf. This is about where I stopped.
Okay.
Right where it got interesting, I just kind of turned it off.
It was too abrupt a shift in the tone of the episode, yeah. Varia finally helps Data escape from the room, and they go to the shuttlecraft and fight some guys.
But then Fajo catches them.
He and Varia are eyeing a gun that was dropped on the ground, and instead of running over and picking it up, Varia falls to the ground and reaches out for it. Was it supposed to look like she tripped? Because it didn't to me. So Fajo pulls his own weapon, and seems to debate whether or not to shoot her, but then he shoots her.
It looked pretty painful. She did a good job of conveying that.
Probably the best compliment you can give this whole episode.
Yeah. It was equivalent to how I felt watching it. So Data seemingly making the decision to shoot Fajo is supposed to be this inner turmoil for him because it's going against his programming, but it wasn't as effective as they intended it to be.
O'Brien picks up the weapon discharging as Data is being transported, and he deactivates it, and when Data beams in, he gives it to Riker. And when Riker mentions the discharge, Data says,
"Perhaps something occurred during transport, Commander."
and I legitimately don't understand why they have Data react that way.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to make it ambiguous as to whether he meant to fire or not, but it seemed pretty clear that he did.
Data confronts Fajo and tells him that all of his possessions are being returned to their rightful owners, which is going to make somebody pretty sad because Leonardo da Vinci is dead. Fajo says,
It must give you great pleasure.
and Data's reply,
I do not feel pleasure. I am only an android.
I was okay with that.
It was a decent ending to a shitty episode.
The most toys. Overall,
What a waste of an episode. The idea was lame to begin with, and even then, Fajo was a really annoying, uninteresting character. There wasn't anything interesting about this episode in terms of character or plot. Geordi went from seeming comfortable about Data's death to going into hysterics, which was weird, and the entire thing was really tedious.
so you like this one?
I would give this episode a D. The only positive aspect about this entire episode was the actual technical side of the production, not including the makeup or set design, which were very basic and felt undeveloped.
I'm not even going to give it that. I give this one an F. I was very disappointed. Come on, season 3. Things were going up. Now they're starting to go back down. Fajo was dumb. The story was pretty much what we've seen before, where somebody wants Data. Data's development wasn't really there, and the other characters were just kind of around. Nothing really happened. It just seemed like we were getting the same scene over and over again. Very disappointing.
Yeah, let's hope things pick up again.